I want to close by asking a couple questions about the recent CIA releases from WikiLeaks. Just to put it in context for people, the Vault 7 releases it's about 8,700 or so documents or files that deal with the CIA's hacking capabilities. And one of the things that's gotten a lot of attention is the idea that, or the platform that allows a particular Samsung TV to be turned into a kind of in-home surveillance device. And, a lot of people now are becoming aware of what's called the Internet of Things. You've got your refrigerator is hooked up to the internet. You've got that damn Alexis or Siri or, Go Google or whatever it's called. I know you very early when this came out said that this was extraordinarily significant. What to you, given your expertise and your background, what are the biggest takeaways from what has been released so far? And what do you think is important for people to understand about what's contained in these CIA documents?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about here. The thing that I don't like, that I'm not so impressed by, is everybody's talking about, Samsung TVs. Nobody really cares about these Samsung TVs in terms of what this means for our future. Any device that's connected to the internet can be hacked, right? And this Samsung TV, in this circumstance, is not hacked through the internet. This is a USB-enabled hack, right? Where somebody has to, this is an old version of TV, by the way. They had to go in and actually stick a USB drive in it, start the TV up, and that would hack the TV. Then you pull the USB drive out, and the TV starts listening in on you. And people go, oh, well, the CIA is not going to be breaking into my house, right? And that's actually true. That's me. Don't panic. But they don't go into your house, right? What they do is they wait for when these devices are being shipped to you, when you order them on Amazon or whatever. They go to them at the airports. They get the box. They use a little hair dryer to soften the adhesive. They open up the box. Then they put the USB stick in it. They seal the box back all nice and perfect. And then they ship it on to you. And now your router, your computer, your TV is hacked. This is a very routine thing that happens, right?
Wait, so you're saying that
the CIA that's doing the hands-on this, by the way, that's the FBI.
Just to clarify, so and I know that there are documents that were made public because of you that showed that they're intercepting routers and other devices in bulk, right? And like, for instance, some of the exports from the United States that deal with internet technology and are going overseas, they'll actually contaminate those devices without necessarily knowing what specific person's going to get them. They're contaminating them at the source before they're shipped.
Sort of.
Okay.
It's not.
Yes, this is a question, not a statement.
En masse, indiscriminately for everything, right? It's not like every iPhone that gets sent to China is backdoored. If they know there's a particular zip code or a particular region that has like a nuclear facility in it, they'll do this kind of thing. And that would be appropriate in many cases. You would want them to do that. But this is a method, right, that they apply to many different things, where they'll also do this to political parties, right? They might also do this to a newsroom if they see that the device is going to a particular building or whatever. These are the kind of causes for concern. Scope out from the individual thing of how does this affect me? Think about how does this affect society, right? And this is what the real value of this CIA release is about. The most important thing here is that we now have concrete evidence that the CIA, the NSA, the United States government writ large, and our partners in places like the United Kingdom are supporting a commercial market in making every internet-connected device less secure. They are paying companies to develop what are basically digital weapons or tools, like burglary tools, that will break into any device, right? And then when they create these things, the problem is anybody can use them, right? You don't just have to have the tool if you can rediscover the same kind of thing, which studies just came out in the last week showing the frequency of this, by the way, for any given tool is 5 to 20% per year, right? 5% if you believe sort of a not very reliable RAND study from a closed data set. No academics are allowed to look at it. No universities are allowed to look at it. They just say, trust us. These numbers say what they think they are. They say there's a 5% chance every year that when the government uses a new kind of wiretap capability, the Russians, the Chinese, random hackers, whoever will rediscover it and can use it to listen to American iPhones, right? Or Samsung TVs in the United States, whatever the device of the day happens to be. Or 20% every year. That's insane, right? This doesn't happen in any other industry. If every time you bought a hamburger, there was a 5% chance that would kill you, people wouldn't be eating hamburgers anymore until they change the law. This is the dynamic that we really see in this release. And that's the thing that people are focusing the least on outside of policy circles, because it's not very exciting. It's not very accessible. It's not very easy to understand. But this largely misses, I think, the top level point when we think about all of this stuff. And this dynamic of Donald Trump, the fact that the world is on fire, the fact that the president's statements can't be relied upon, the fact that his laws are violating our Constitution in such a blatant and open manner, right, is that this is actually not new. What's different is he is so inept that we see it, right? Even his representatives go on the news and they don't try to lie carefully. They don't try to lie in a manner that has a kind of art to it. They do so openly, without shame, because they say, what are you going to do to stop us? But this happened in the Bush administration. He created a warrantless wiretapping program that on its face violated the Fourth Amendment so badly, so boldly, that the Attorney General of the United States at one point refused to sign it because he didn't think he could defend that if he was eventually brought into the docket one day. What did the president do? Well, he didn't go, all right, well, the Attorney General says this isn't legal, we shouldn't do it. He turned to the NSA director and said, well, the Attorney General won't sign off on this. Will you do this anyway? And the director of the National Security Agency said, well, the president's asking me. Sure. Even though he knew that was a violation of the Constitution. Let's go to President Barack Obama, right? This is a similar thing. Obama was a fairly progressive, fairly liberal politician by American standards. And I don't mean on the American political spectrum, because he was actually pretty far right as far as what people would consider to be a liberal. He was the one who said, the world is a global battlefield. I'm going to assassinate U.S. citizens without a trial outside of an actual combat zone because I believe they're a threat to the United States. Now, right or wrong, whether you think he was justified or unjustified in that, that's unprecedented, and that's clearly a violation of due process, right? But this happened. When you look at the statements of journalists who worked under the Obama administration, we're talking mainstream people, right? They're describing his activities against the press as a war on whistleblowers, a war against the press. Whenever something comes to the public eye, cyber operations that are questionable, things that failed, he starts trying to put people in jail. The editor of the New York Times, right? This is not what we would consider sort of a radical fringe source. So the Obama White House was the most secretive they've ever dealt with. James Risen, who the DOJ for some time threatened with jail if he wouldn't reveal who his source was, said Obama was the greatest enemy of press freedom in a generation. Now, what does this all boil down to? Why does this matter? The reality is all governments lie. All governments break the law. And most frequently, this happens without us realizing it. The majority of us, right? People who follow this, people who study this will see it. They'll complain, they'll protest, but they don't have critical mass because they don't have control of the airwaves. They're sort of shuttled off in the corner of the room where they talk amongst each other. But the average person doesn't care that much because these presidencies, these administrations, give them the space to deny it to themselves, right? To say, I can go on with my day, I can go on with my life, and I don't have to confront these issues. I can live in my comfortable life. I can go home after a hard day, right? I've got people to take care of. I've got bills to pay. I have obligations. I don't have time to save the government, right? We can't do that anymore. That is no longer a luxury. And that, more than anything else, may be the silver lining of this disastrous administration, is the fact that people are, for the first time in a generation, realizing that democracy is not an inheritance. Folks, this is a challenge. This is our challenge. This is something that requires effort. This is something that requires sacrifice. And this is something that if you turn your back on, will not get better. It will get worse. It is not enough to believe in something. It is not enough to think that America is the land of the free, the home of the brave. We have constitutional values and these things will simply work out. They will mean nothing unless you make them mean something. It is not enough to believe in something, ladies and gentlemen. you must stand for something.